Hello and welcome back. I'm Lorena Buck, a senior advisor with BCG, and we are now going to be walking through Pillar 3 in the BlackNorth Racial Equity Playbook, talking about how to reduce and eradicate any like for like racial compensation gaps. This is the third pillar in our set of six on your journey to drive racial equity in your organization. And this is one that we see as a critical and important one to ensure that you are creating equity within your workforce. Now, when we think about equitable compensation, we will be thinking about this from the standpoint of both pay as well as other forms of compensation, which can include benefits for any employees who are performing substantially similar work. We think that this is really important because this is critical for your ability to attract and retain top talent, and creating positive morale and employee engagement from that talent, and therefore getting the most out of them as it comes to your own business objectives. So this one, like all others, is going to have some important stakeholders in the process. For pay gaps, this becomes one where the HR leadership and legal counsel are really critical to ensure that you're doing things that are appropriate and allowed to be done, but also ensuring that your business leaders are involved so that they are being trained properly to ensure equity in decisions around compensation. So on this one, there are two levers in particular that we will end up talking about. The first one is driving pay equity in like-for-like compensation by race. And then the second one is this idea of benefits and ensuring that you have benefits that actually address the needs of all the employees in your organization. And on this page, we list a set of common and innovative practices, but in further pages in the action section, we will give a longer list of actions that you can potentially use within your organization. Now, the first step to being able to look at pay equity is to be baselining that where your organization sits today. And so this is where we'll walk you through a set of steps to allow yourself to do a pay equity audit to ensure that you're doing the right reviews with your legal team, and ultimately getting to an understanding of where you are in terms of your like for like pay for Black workers and identifying any gaps that need to be reconciled. One of the most important things that you'll find in this section is trying to understand what is comparable work. There may be places where you're using contractors versus employees for the same work. And so understanding, do you actually have a skew in the types of people that you're actually giving full employment status to for the same work will be an important thing to distinguish, as well as being able to understand if there are places where you are just not paying folks the same amount for the same jobs that do actually have the same titles within your organization, or not actually giving people the same opportunities to advance. So if we start to look at what are a subset of actions here. So in this section, you'll actually find two pages to detail out the actions. We're just looking at one of them today, which is looking at the pay equity and like for like compensation by race. There's also a page that talks to benefits. Um, on this, as in all of our actions pages, it is organized into these three columns. What are actions that involve people? What are actions that involve your process and policy? And what are actions that involve technology and data that are going to help you be successful here? We've also included the same scoring of low, medium, and high resource intensity for each of these actions, as well as starred a handful that we consider to be no regrets actions. Some of the most important no regrets actions that we do see here is first training any managers that are going to be responsible for hiring or for compensation decisions of common pitfalls in salary negotiations. Ensuring that your policy is actually helping to promote equity in those salaries, and then doing annual pay audits in all of the departments and at all levels of your organization. One of the most important things that we find going through the pay equity process is that um, employees that are Black that may have that may have equivalent backgrounds, and even at times equivalent performance or better performance are not necessarily getting paid fairly. And so it's really important to be thinking about, what are you trying to incent in this process, and ensuring that the people who are giving you the same level of output in their work product and work quality are getting paid equitably through that process. In addition to the actions, you will also end up finding in this in the playbook a set of tools and resources that will enable you to help track pay equity through your organization and assist you with that pay audit process, as well as some additional resources that will help guide you through this journey, and some case studies that you can use to give real examples of what you can do in your organization. One of the case studies that we wanted to bring up that we thought was actually a very innovative one was from Wegman Food Market, which is a grocery chain in the U.S. And one of the things that they realized was that they had very high turnover in their Black workers in grocery stores, and a large portion of this was the fact that that particular portion of their employee base had less access to private vehicles, and so had trouble getting to work. And so one of the things they started to do was to actually subsidize transportation for its frontline workers to and from work, which actually helped them to reduce their turnover from nearly 100% down to 30%. Now, this may seem like a large cost, but if you compare that to the cost of having to recruit and train new talent, I think Wegmans would have found that it was actually a much, much less expensive solution for them than having to deal with that amount of turnover in their organization. So hopefully this has been a helpful overview of the pay equity section. If you have any further questions about this pillar or any other pillars, please feel free to reach out to the Black North team or the BCG team that is supporting the Black North Initiative. And you can go onto the Black North website to get more information about this effort. Thank you very much.